Sarah was asking about the issue of compatibility to a potential suitor. And she says, if we do not communicate and get to know one another, how would we know that we're compatible for one another? And the answer is, in Islam, there isn't such a thing. In Islam, a man is entitled to meet the woman he's interested in getting married once. But before that, he has to do his due diligence, as well as she. So he has to check on the background of the girl. He has to ask his mother and sisters to go and check on her, to describe her to him, whether she fits his requirements and the features he's looking for. He checks her background in terms of her moral conduct, her religious practice, by asking friends, relatives, those who know her. And then she, on the other hand, her father does the same. Goes and checks on the man, whether he prays in the masjid or not, whether he has a sound aqidah, his behavior, does he engage in fights so often or none? Is he generous? Is he stingy? Does he lie? He checks with his friends, with his colleagues, all around. Once there is some form of acceptance from both sides, they set a date, and then the man goes to the girl's house, and there he sits with the girl and her guardian, her father, her brother, and this is the initial interview where they look at each other. She's not wearing the hijab. He looks at her. She's not wearing any makeup as well. She looks at him. They exchange questions for an hour, maybe an hour or more, just to see if there is any form of attraction. Afterwards, if he's okay with that and she's okay with that, then they go on and they're considered to be engaged. They formally propose. They set a date for the marriage and the wedding, and voila, we have a touchdown. But to go and date, as Sarah is implying, and to get to know one another, a lot of similar engagements, maybe in half a dozen or more, did not work out because the man probably didn't like what he saw and she didn't like what she saw, because they were all trying to fake things up. They are not that serious. They're just dating, having a good time, and no strings attached. In marriage, it's different. 99.9% of marriages in Islam is conducted like I stated in the very beginning. And this is how I got married, alhamdulillah. And all those I know around me got married in the same fashion, and they've lived a happy life that, alhamdulillah, is still ongoing. Why is that? Because they trusted Allah Azza wa Jal, and they followed the Quran and the Sunnah and the correct procedure, and this is what it led to. While on the other side, you find a lot of marriages ending so quickly, not lasting too long, because it was not based on such trust and dependence on Allah Azza wa Jal, and in wanting this to happen and take place. She says that if she does not like how the suitor looks, but she's attracted to him, usually it's not the looks that makes it or breaks it. Maybe, as she's describing, he's a bit chubby, he's a bit fat, but maybe he has a handsome face that is relaxing. Maybe he has a good job. Maybe he is a real man that one can trust and depend on. Maybe he is wealthy or coming from a good family. So there are a number of factors. It's not how handsome or how fit or his symmetrics in his body is. So if you are attracted to him and you think that he would be a good father to your children and a good husband to you, then yes, this is totally permissible to go ahead with the marriage. As for your third question, which is, could you ask him to lose weight and then decide? This is a little bit humiliating. This is a little bit too much, as if there's only you on earth that he is obliged to get married to. You have to wake up, Sarah. The demand is far less than the supply. Women are so many nowadays, and men are less in number. And good men are even lesser. And practicing good men who would make good husbands are very few. So you don't get maybe a second chance if you lose the first one. Putting such conditions and insisting that he loses weight, maybe he would have his own conditions about you and the way you look or the way you behave or your religious commitment, that he would also put conditions that you memorize the Quran or you do this and that. This is inappropriate. This is a marriage. This is not a business transaction that one should put such conditions to, and Allah Azza wa Jal knows best.